Good evening from the UK and good morning to you in sunny Australia, Bob. It's the summer solstice here, the 21st of June, so a very special day for all of us. And you've got up very, very early to join us this morning, as always, haven't you?
Well, actually, I've been awake for 5 hours. My body woke me up at midnight. It wanted me to be sure I wouldn't miss this interview.
Oh, and I always get the time difference wrong anyway. So it's so fantastic that you wake early. And I must just say, for everyone, we're joined today by three out of my five cats. I've got Fluffy Duffy, Coco, and Idris is on my lap. So that's why I can't move because I can't disturb a cat. So, first of all, how are you doing, Bob? It's been a few weeks since we talked. How are you? How's Australia?
Um, my life is awesome, and I've overcome a major roadblock um, in getting my book out there. But I'll talk about that later. So I'm really, really pleased with that because I've sort of been writing it for 10 years and then procrastinating over the last little bit, for a
Yeah,
couple of
I know
years. And
that
I've
feeling. Yeah, I know
yeah,
that feeling. Me
so
too.
I finally found some friends. I reached out to the Brave New Life community, and people have responded. And so, yeah, the train is rolling, and um, making no promises, but yeah, it will be published by the end of the year. So I'm pleased with that.
Okay, would you
Um,
talk about that now? Whilst we're on a roll, why don't we just talk a little bit about your book now, Bob? Tell us
okay.
what it's going to be about.
Well, basically, the title says it all. It's The Gift of Depression, my little scrapbook. And ever since I got off the pharmaceuticals, healed my inner child, reclaimed my authentic self, silenced my mind, all of this stuff has just been coming through me. And it's almost like automatic writing. So it'll wake me up 3 o'clock in the morning. I just get on the keyboard and type. And so everything that I've typed, I just kept throwing into a folder, throwing into a folder. Um, and then I got all these one liners. So I made little insight posters or memes from them and I threw them in the box there. And it's an amazing story, but I didn't want to produce a how-to book
Yeah,
because for me we're all sovereign, unique, and equal. And all I wanted to do was just to share the process that I went through from being suicidal for 25 years to being master and commander of my life, but without any structure because I one of my missions is to reclaim the innocence that I had as a child. And so I had all these writings and all this stuff. What am I going to do with it? And then that title just came to me, The Gift of Depression, my little scrapbook. So it doesn't need structure. I'm just
wonderful.
going to I'm just going to compile all the writings, all the memes, a page of useful links and acknowledgements. And what I'm hoping is people will feel the book more than think it,
Yeah,
because that's what it's all about for me. Yeah.
I can't
Yes.
wait. I really can't wait. That's just going to be such a wonderful resource because having known you for sort of probably about a year now, distantly from afar, you really are full of wisdom. And what I really like about you, Bob, is you actually walk the talk and you're living the life that you talk about rather than preaching and then doing something very different in your life. Interesting enough, I can resonate with that because I've been meaning to get my book out for about 8 years, and then I am just going to really start on a roll and sort of getting it out, and I've got a friend who's going to help me with that. And mine is, well, my first book that I'm putting out is all about the messages from the animals, because having lived and worked with animals for so long, there's so much wisdom I've learned from them and such special messages that can help any human. So, a bit similar in a way, it's not a how to at all. It's really words of wisdom from the heart of the animals and from the spirit of the animals that have really helped myself and other people I know in our journey, really. So, I'm really excited about freeing up some time to do that over the next few months as well. So great. I'll race you to it. I think you might.
Oh, no, no. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing that's really present for me at the
Deep in here.
moment.
Cheers.
It's a bit early for wine. I'm on my my one cup of coffee. It's a big
Oh,
cup
yes, you
though.
see, it's late at night here, and I started off with my neat celery juice, which I absolutely love every morning, and I'm finishing off with my grape juice.
But if I had a rum and coke now, I'd I'd, I'd be asleep in about an hour and a half's time.
Exactly.
Yeah. But one thing that, as we're going with the flow, you just mentioned the word race, and
Ingest.
no, this is what it's prompted in me. Um, the power, the words that people use are so powerful. Well, the words that I use are so powerful because they create my reality. Now,
Yeah,
if you look at the words that humanity is using, we even call ourselves a human race,
yeah,
which implies that we are in competition with each other, which we are. Our whole society is based on competition,
mm.
which is why we're all scrambling over each other to get to the top. When you get to the top, there's nobody there but you. So
Well,
I don't use human race anymore. I just use I'm a human being.
I'm just
We
going
are a human species.
send you a lovely quote my daughter sent me on that very note day. Um, this is one of the things that she inspirational quotes that she saw. Your competition isn't other people. Your competition is your procrastination, your ego, the unhealthy food you're consuming, the knowledge you neglect, the negative behavior you're nurturing. And I think, you know, it's so true. We're sort of often brought up in a society to look at competition, um, and to see that as a very negative thing, but actually looking at ourselves and feeling, are we fulfilled and are we living the life that we want to live is what's really important, I think. And which leads us on nicely to one of the main things we wanted to talk about today, Bob, which is about the difference between knowledge and knowing. We touched on this in our last course, but I know that you've been giving this a lot of thought, haven't you, over the last month or so?
Well, I don't like to use the word thought because that implies thinking, which implies the left
Yeah.
brain. What I love to do is ponder, which is more like heart space for me. Um, but yeah, how can I roll into that? Yeah, I often hear people take a natural phenomenon and say, and this has been backed up by science.
Yes.
This has been backed up by science. Now, what I say is I don't give a tinker's cuss about science. If a natural phenomenon has occurred and you have witnessed that and see what it does, like I'll give you an example. I hold a seed in my hand, and I don't need to know the minutiae of how that seed can germinate and all the Latin words for all the stuff that's going on inside. All I need to know is if I put it in the soil and water it and give it sunshine, it will grow, and I've got a basket full of mangoes. You
Mm.
know, for me, science, which is a product of the mind, it's a result of the search for knowledge. It's the driving engine is science and technology. Now, yeah, it's like it's a waste of time, and people come out and say this is a scientific fact. Now, hang on a minute. Every science is just a current common understanding that creates a theory that is agreed to by many minds. So
Mm-hmm.
anything a scientist says, like, oh, particle physics explains this, quantum physics explains this, but what they've done is forgotten, well, in their arrogance, they've dropped off the first part. It is the theory of particle physics and the theory of quantum mechanics that proves this. And my response to that is, how can you use a theory to prove anything? You can't. So for me, facts are, here's a fact for me anyway. and it's ties in with the spelling, my spells again. For me, a fact is a fundamental attribute of creation. You know, and that's why Eckhart Tolle, the best thing he ever said was, totally let go of the need to understand anything.
Mm.
You know, I've got a mobile, well, I don't know why I chose mobile phone as an example. I haven't had a phone number for a fortnight, but I've got a mobile phone. Oh no, I've got an electric drill there, and I don't need to know how it works. I need to know what I can do with it, you know, its utility. So for me, the pursuit of knowledge is, it has benefits in my life, and I acknowledge those benefits here. For me, the pursuit of knowledge for me is entertainment, because I know what I know and I know what I don't know, but I don't know what I don't know. And it's that bit that's really interesting. That's where the entertainment comes in. But it's also entertainment and exercise for my mind. Now, my mind is just a tool that I use when I choose. And so, you know, if you don't use it, you lose it. It'll go rusty and it won't work again. So I use the search for knowledge purely for those two reasons, as entertainment value and to exercise my tools, keep them in good working order. Whereas if I go to knowing, now within the silence of my heart, I found a place I call my knowing, and my knowing has no words. It's a feeling.
Mm.
It's where my contentment comes from. It's my connection to source. And because I am content with me, I don't have to compete with anybody. I've got nothing to prove, you know. So if you know something is true for you, and then people say to you, ah, but, you know, which university did you get that from? You know, where's your supporting data?
Proof,
I don't have to prove my own truth. My truth is just my truth. You can take it or leave it. And I invite people to share their truth, not their opinion.
Well, it's an interesting one. There's so many things to unpick there. I mean, going back to the drill, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because I think there's a space for all of this. You need all of it, because actually you wouldn't have a drill had someone else not had the knowledge how to invent and make that drill in the first place. And then someone else about how to manufacture it, and someone else about how to get it out to Australia, etc. So it's a bit like the headspace and the heart space, isn't it? You need them both, but balance is key.
Yeah, I think what's key here for me is I fully support technology that works with nature. And that is a boon to mankind without any bad effects. I almost said side effects, you know. But so many times, especially in our current competitive corporate global system, technology, the pursuit of truth in technology has been sidelined to meet corporate needs. You know, they only sponsor research now that will give them the results they want to sell more of their product, whether it's good or bad for humanity. So I fully support technology that makes the world a better place to live in, cleans up, keeps the environment clean, you know. And you don't need science to do that. You just need to plant more trees and go to solar, wind, and tidal power. It's not rocket science, you know. Science creates a problem, and then more scientists get on board to try and cure the problem that science created by creating another problem through the science they're using. Hang on.
I think there's definitely, and we've seen it an awful lot over the last year. I'm going to be very careful because I keep getting my videos removed, what we say, but luckily you and I don't talk about controversial things like that. But, you know, I think over the last year, we've seen how misleading this quoting science can be, because actually quite often people can get, it can be a deliberate ploy to deliberately take people away from common sense, intuition, knowing. And you know, there's also that keeping people busy. It's the arrogance now, where if you can't quote some scientific paper or research thing or prove it, but you're right, you know, in the wild, a rabbit doesn't need to prove that a fox is going to eat it. It needs to listen to its gut sense and get the hell out of here. So it's not always, these things are often, as I said, for me, it's all about balance. It's, you need to, first and foremost, that knowing needs to be the thing you listen to most. And then if you want to have a bit of fun and have a bit of dinner party conversation with the rest of it, or look at creating a current problem, then you might need to employ the knowledge side as well, but that should never overpower the knowing.
Yeah, and there's another element that I see. Um, just call them the bad guys, you know. Let's make this a B grade movie. There's the bad guys and the good guys, and we're the good guys, and I'm talking about the bad guys. But the bad guys have been at this for centuries.
Yeah.
And they're very, very smart, very, very smart. And they're looking at any way they possibly can to dumb us down. And by convincing people that you need to work for, 16 hours a week to, spend your life as a debt slave, but to keep the populace thinking. And while people are thinking, they have no time for the feeling, going within and finding their knowing. And so by keeping people busy, oh, I'm too busy to do that. So that's all hippie shit, But for me, knowing, as Shakespeare said, above all else, be true to thine own self. But you've got to find yourself. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And I could only get there by turning my mind off and listening to my heart, and through a lot of sort of lucid dreaming and stuff, keep building a stronger relationship with that place that I found within me, where the essential I am, that is me, the spiritual I am, that's where that resides, and that's where my power comes from. And if it's within me, it's got to be within everybody, but you've got to go there, haven't you? And even Jesus said, it's quoted to have said, I am the way, the truth, the light. Now, he wasn't claiming that. He was just saying to everybody and pointing the finger at everybody, you need to say this, each and every one of us. I am the way, the truth, the light. You are your own way, your truth, your light. For the kingdom of heaven resides in us all. And so that's what I found within me, in that place that I call my knowing.
Yeah, I think you hit on something really important there as well, about the keeping themselves busy. I have gone through large stages of my life where I've been too busy to find myself. And actually, one of the joys of getting older is you realize, you do sit back and you think, how's this working for me, and then you can put the changes in place. And it's so wonderful when you do give yourself that space. And also the other thing I found over the last few years, sort of coming from a scientific background, is absolutely wonderful and so freeing to not have to prove or justify anything. It frees up so much time, because so many people waste so much of their lives with those internal dialogues which are actually going on within your own head or your own mind, or between the different parts of yourself. And when you let go of that, it frees up so much stress, so much time. And because you get to a stage where you don't need to prove anything to anyone. I love having fascinating conversations with people and thinking of different perspectives, because as you said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. If you're used to looking at something from this way, it's nice to have someone point out that you can actually also look at it from that way. And I can find that extremely useful. but actually it's so freeing, isn't it? And so such a weight off your shoulders when you let go of that need to prove anything to anyone.
Well, a classic example for me is within this space that I call my knowing, I found a place I call the Universal Galactic Library of all that there is to know. Um, and some people call it the Akashic Records.
Mm.
But for me, all of this writing and all of these little insights that I'm getting, that's where they're coming from.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a strengthening connection with that place within me. And because it's strengthening, I'm getting more insights. I'm getting more creative. I'm getting more spontaneous, like using my sense of noticing out in the world. I lived on a boat for 8 years, so gardening was kind of out of it. But since I've been marooned by a cyclone back on land, I've
Mm.
started gardening again. And as a kid, everybody had an allotment when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But what I do now with my sense of noticing, I'll try something and notice how nature deals with it. Or I'll look at the plants around me and see what nature is telling me. You know, if the leaves are looking a bit wrinkly, ding, light bulb goes off. Oh, I need to water them.
Mm.
So I'm just going through and looking at nature and watching how nature works, and then bringing those principles into my life. Because for me, nature is nurture, and the other one for me, science is the sickness and nature is the cure. You know, all those years I spent taking pharmaceuticals, which are toxic, they're petrochemicals, and once I threw them away and went totally barefoot, my body has healed itself. My immune system is absolutely amazing, even with the toxins that I still knowingly throw at it. But I've eliminated all the other ones. I've still got 2 or 3 to get rid of.
If we
But
were
yeah,
perfect, it would be boring. I always get people commenting about how can you, sorry, I'm just moving my cat because he's falling off my lap. I always get people commenting about how can you talk about health whilst drinking wine? And I'm just like, I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm not, I do, if I want a glass of wine, I'll have a glass of wine. If you want a cigarette, you'll have a cigarette. But we've got an awareness of it. And again, it's all about balance. But I love the learning from nature. I mean, at the moment, we've had really weird weather the last the last month or so. So we had sort of about a month of really hot weather. And now we've had a few weeks of sort of torrential rain. We're all saying we might need to build an ark soon if it carries on much longer. I mean, it's a little bit ironic, particularly with everything going on in the world, that it's the summer solstice and it's really cold and wet here, having had weeks and weeks of sunshine. So whether that's some sort of, great cleansing going on there or whether it's manipulated, who knows, time will tell. But again, that connection, understanding that connection with nature, you say about sort of going barefoot, but actually going barefoot is so, so important because I find even I'm a bit of a reptile, not a reptilian, a reptile, in that I'm always cold. I don't think I was designed to live in the UK, although I do love the seasons and I love how green the UK is. And but I still, as much as possible, will make sure I stand or walk barefoot, because if I'm not sure about something, if I take my shoes off and go and stand barefoot, or if I go and sit by my tree, or if I've got one of the cats on my lap like I have now, then suddenly I take that time out for myself and suddenly the answer will come.
mm. And the other thing is, um, you don't have to actually go barefoot to get the majority of the benefits, as long as whatever you put on your feet is a natural material. Like the Indians used to wear leather moccasins.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a natural material. Now you look at what's what's on the bottom of just about every shoe in Western society: rubber.
Exactly.
Oh, and an insulator. It's insulator, and you can't tell me that's not intentional. The bad guys,
Separation.
the bad guys have got this covered from every angle.
Completely.
Yeah,
Separation. What every step of the way, how can they separate people from each other and people from nature? Because with separation becomes doubt and fear and insecurity and all the things that go with it. No, it is true. It is a very interesting one. I mean, I've got different views on that because I agree with the natural thing, but unfortunately, I think there's a big difference to how the Indians used to make their moccasins to how commercial leather shoes are weighed at the moment and all the energy behind that. So that's a fascinating one as well. But again, look at the intent behind it. We all know mind over matter, and the intent with what you put to something can override almost anything, can't it?
yeah. Well, you just hit on a really big one for me because, like, anything that's manufactured, let's look at pharmaceuticals.
Hmm.
Okay, they're petrochemicals, and can't call them medicines because they're not
Yeah,
medicines, they're drugs. But these drugs are constructed by observing the behavior of a natural plant or herb, and it is herb, not herb.
yeah, we say herb
Yeah,
as well. Yeah,
yeah, and so that, yeah, this particular molecule in this plant looks like it can cure ED. So we will duplicate that in a laboratory using chemicals. Yeah. But what the tribal people were using was distilled from the whole plant that was grown in sunshine and captured the
exactly.
energy of the earth and the nutrients from the soil. And whether they boil it up or grind it up or chopped it up, they are using the whole of the plant, and it's the wholeness of that plant, including the energy
Exactly.
that it was grown in, that does the healing.
And look
But
at
by
what,
producing the drug, they just cut out that energy. And the same with how we animals to eat. They're not like in what's that movie, Avatar. You know, when they killed a beast, they honoured its passing and thanked the beast for providing them with nourishment.
yeah,
But that and now all our animals, I'd hate to think what they go through, because there's no love in that anymore. There's no respect.
there's no respect. And look at, we're going back to what you said, Bob. It's a really important point. Again, there's these connection threads that run through all of this, because when they make the pharmaceuticals, what do? They try and isolate certain active ingredients. And so again, it's this isolation, separation. Whereas when you take everything synergistically as a whole, I mean, I'm a herbalist and I work with herbs and essential oils and everything. And that is the whole point of it. As soon as you try and start messing with nature and separate one part from this, you lose the synergy and you lose the power behind it. And in fact, it can be really harmful because most forms of isolation are harmful to life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
There's
so
a
simple, isn't it?
there's a few people I wouldn't mind putting in isolation, but
Yes, but that's intent. You see, that's intent. We want to. Yeah, we could. That's a definite discussion for but we can think about that secretly, and we know we agree. Um, but coming back to the knowledge and the knowing,
yeah.
because I think this is a really, really important one, and again, particularly at this moment in time. So, talk us through some of the tips of the things that you found that you've already mentioned some of them, but let's give people a few tips when they're thinking, well, yeah, I see that, but how do I really start to connect in with my knowing? And how do I know when I have connected in with my knowing? Talk us through some things that have worked for you on that.
Okay, well, I'll just give you and um, I operate under two words: kiss and sue. Kiss, keep it simple, sovereign, and sue, we are all sovereign, unique, and equal. And so I'll just go through what worked for me. And questioning, questioning, questioning everything. About 20 years ago, I asked myself this question: Bob, what's the longest relationship you've ever had in your life? And the answer came straight back: well, with you, of course. Right. So if the longest relationship I've ever had in my life is with me, ergo, I am the only expert on my life. Why am I listening to these fuckwits telling me there's something wrong with me? And that's, and once I came to that realization that I am the only expert on my life, and then I said, look, I'm in pain. Let's have a look at this pain. Where is this pain coming from? And it, you know, I was living the magazine life. Everything was rosy, and all of a sudden, my life just crumbled. My body was doing what it wanted to. I was walking around as if there's somebody behind me with a knife all the time, and it was. I realised that all I was doing was recreating in my adult life what my childhood was like. My childhood was a very frightening and dangerous place. So I often felt like that. And so I went and did the work of healing the wounded child. And John Bradshaw, God bless him, he saved my life. So I did that work. But then that was only part of the story. I also realized that I wasn't living my truth. So when I took command of my life, and this is what one thing that anybody can do, I just decided one day, coincidentally with me becoming a ship's captain, I just took that ideology and applied it to my whole life. I am master and commander of my life, and I take full responsibility for this life that I do create. And so the first thing I did as master was to set my life purpose. And I set my life purpose to simply find my own truth. And how do I know what is my truth? Whatever resonates with my heart. And that began the journey of discovery. I just realized then, and I was so angry that I realized that everything I'd been taught in the the indoctrination system was a load of bollocks. Everything my parents told me was a lie. Everything that I saw on the media was a lie. It was all a lie. The truth was 180 degrees away from everything that I'd known. But slowly, by questioning everything, and yeah, that resonates with my heart. That's part of my truth. That resonates with my heart. I began to establish what my truth really is. And the truth is for me is I am powerful beyond measure. We are all powerful beyond measure. It's only our fear of how powerful we can really be that holds us back. And that was another realization that I had. Why I went on to antidepressants was I was having all these overwhelming feelings, and they were just too big to manage. And the drugs numbed them down again. So like, you know, and but after a while, I got myself in balance where I could start looking at these feelings, and it was through getting back and then just going back to childhood and feeling the terror that I felt then and feeling all the shame and stuff. And I was on the boat and I just let all the feelings splurge out. I just got them all out. They'd been trapped inside of me for 40 years, all those feelings that were creating this dysfunctional way I behaved today. So I just got all the feelings out. And, you know, I cried until I was just worn out. You know, it's not something you want to do in a supermarket. You get some funny looks, but I got it all out, which led to another insight. Feelings are healings, but while you're thinking, you're not feeling. So again, silencing the mind, getting out of the trap of the intellect and honoring my heart And now I totally trust in my own process. I listen to and obey my body because my body is smart. It is very smart. It knows what it needs and it keeps telling me. And sometimes when it don't doesn't when I don't listen, it gives me a whack. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And if the longer I don't listen, the harder the whacks. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I give in. What are you trying to tell me? Oh, I get it. I shouldn't, you know, yeah, I shouldn't drink so much. Or I, I
Yeah.
get it.
Exactly. Sometimes
But
we
it,
get those whacks a few times, don't we, to get us to listen and everything. So,
yeah.
yeah, so if someone's caught in the sort of corporate life at the moment, there's a lot of people I know, either personally or that sort of write in, that are sort of caught in this, the usual sort of Western society, caught in a job they don't like, got bills to pay, got a family to support, caught in the busy, 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 busy. What are some of the first steps that you think they could start to, I know everyone's situation is completely unique, but a few tips and things that someone in that normal rush of life, you know, caught in that so-called trap could start taking?
Well, one question I use and I still use constantly, but I've been using it for a good many years now, just to sit quietly under a tree with my dog next to me and look at my life and look at elements of my life. And I just ask, look at this element, and I'll say, is that nurturing for me?
Mm.
Is that nurturing for me? And if it's not, I get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've often got into jobs, you know, because I needed to when I was when I was when I was unable to manifest the abundance that I now have. But I often got into jobs, and after a week or two, no, this is not for me. Sorry, mate, have a nice life, but I don't work for control freaks, you know, or whatever, you
Mm.
know. And so now, one of my little memes is whatever is not nurturing for me, I simply call the beast, and I no longer feed the beast.
Mm.
But you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. Well, I don't care if you're CEO of Exxon, you know, is this nurturing for me? I've got 4 jet airplanes, a mega yacht, and all this blah blah. But you know, do you wake up giggling? Do you wake up going, "Yay, another day"? Come on, Barnaby, or come on, Barnaby, let's go for a run, because that's how I wake up.
Mm.
Charlie, you know, yeah, come on, Dad, let's go for a run.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I,
that's and it's that simple.
it
It's
is
that
that
simple.
simple. It's that honesty with yourself. And as you say, you have to give your time self that time to feel, don't you? You can't intellectualize any of this. It's got to be from the feeling, from your heart space. And I would say just practice, practice, practice with that, because you know, as you say, it's waking up that muscle, it's waking up that deep intuition deep within inside yourself. And the more you do it, little steps at a time, if that's what you feel comfortable with, the easier it gets, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's it's like anything, you know. When you first learn it, trying to learn to ride a bike or do the tango, you know, you're tripping over yourself or falling off your bike or driving a car. But after a while, you know, the process becomes automatic. It's far away back here, and now it just naturally happens for me. You know, I just feel it. Oh no, especially with people. If somebody coming towards me and they're radiating an energy that's not nurturing for me, I just don't engage.
Yeah.
You know? For me, there's only 2 sorts of people: there's snakes and teddy bears. You know, and you're a beautiful teddy bear. Um,
Talking of beautiful teddy bears, I've got to show you my youngest. Sorry, he's on my hat. Um, Honestly, I just, this is my baby. So carry on, but he's fast asleep on me. But the way I'm sitting, that's why I'm sitting so awkwardly, because he was sliding off my lap. He's so tired. This is Idris, the Wonder Cat, everyone. But yeah, no, Cat, you're so right, isn't it? And it's that that honesty, because also what you realize is you're not nurturing to them. If it's not a vibrational match, you engaging with them wouldn't be nurturing to them either.
Well, one thing I've learned, and again, it's so simple, is what I've learned is that what I radiate, I create.
Yeah,
So I consciously choose to radiate joy. That is a conscious choice that I have made to radiate joy.
yeah.
And guess what comes back?
Mm.
Joy.
I know, look, can you get any more joyful than this?
I used to have a black cat. Well, my partner and I did at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
got,
very bossy.
he's so tolerant, this little one, but he's not very comfortable. Excuse the squeak on the chair, but I'm trying to stop him sliding off my lap. But he's just adorable. He's such a wild thing, but he's so affectionate at the same time. So I think that's a really good lesson for everyone. Just practice it every day. Practice tuning in. How did this feel to me? Rather than what do I think about this? Because it's a very standard thing that we say to someone, isn't it? What do you think about this? But I don't think so many people, well, probably in our world, they do. They're more likely to say, what do you think about it than how do you feel about this?
I've got a good example. I was working for Orbital Engine Company in Western Australia, automotive research, and really in the depths of depression. I was participating in and running several support groups. And just one day at work, you go into work and people say, "G'day, Bob, how you going?" And I'd look them straight in the eye and say, "Do you really want to know?" And then most of them would say, "Oh, no, 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 I was just making polite conversation."
Yeah.
But one or two said, "Yes, Bob, I'm really interested. How are you going?" And so we started a real human to human conversation from that. Well, I'm having a shit day, I can barely I can barely function, I can't keep my thoughts straight. I don't know how I'm going to get through the day. But it was just by asking that question, do you really want to know? You've just said, how do you feel? Do you really want to know? And by doing that, I built up my own support network
Yes.
at work. And it was a two-way street. And I say, okay, you've heard how I'm feeling. How are you feeling? You know? And it was that by sharing that truth, that raw inner honesty that helped in the healing process.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I think it is very, very important. It's something I would encourage everyone to practice all the time. I mean, I'm doing that with who I'm deciding to talk to, because I'm only doing this but just because I love having these wonderful conversations with people, and it opens my mind to new ways of looking at things and sharing, how we are feeling about things, the current situation and everything else that's going on, and also what sort of life we're creating for ourselves. And that's my absolute go-to. How do I feel about this person, and do I want to spend my time talking to them?
Well,
Simple.
there's another question. There's another question, totally fundamental. If you're not creating your life, who is?
Exactly.
Because if you're not creating your life, you are victim by definition.
Mm.
And I'm not victim. I'm
Mm.
master. I'm sovereign, as all are capable of being.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Wow.
Fantastic. It is
Wow.
so powerful. And we're having this situation now. There's lots of, we're realizing a lot of the sort of control, aren't we, that we've been under, that a lot of people didn't realize we were under. So that's a really important, question for people to be asking. Myself, if you're not creating your reality, then who is? So that leads us nicely on to looking at the other area that you wanted to talk to about connecting the dots about deception.
Yeah. Going back to our old B movie that we're making, with the bad guys and the good guys.
Yes.
And just looking at that period between 1900 and 1930, you've got the beginning of psychiatry, and you've got the Rothschilds that had their stranglehold on the banking system of most of the civilized world at that time. And then you got the Rockefellers that controlled oil. But by controlling the oil industry, they controlled the petrochemical industry.
Yeah.
And by controlling the petrochemical industry, they controlled the pharmaceutical industry. During that period, I think it was the Rockefellers took over the education or indoctrination system in the UK, in the USA, and of course, you know, it spread. And the main purpose of that was to get rid of free thinkers and produce robots that learnt by parrot fashion and were merited on how they could repeat certain verbiage rather than being encouraged to think creatively and freely. So around about that time, it just feels like, you know, this had been bubbling for centuries, but this was the time they started to tighten the noose. And then since then, in every way I can imagine, just looking at what toxins am I surrounded by, and what did I notice in my growing up? Well, let's talk about aluminium, and it is aluminium. It's not aluminum.
Mm.
And
On all the Americans today, are we?
don't take me there. Don't take me there.
You are actually a Brit as well, you see, so you've got our sense of humour. So
yeah, but you know, aluminium has been connected to Parkinson's disease, and yet in the 50s, what was your cookware made of? All your pots and your pans.
And we wrapped everything in aluminium foil, and you sent your kids to school with your sandwiches wrapped in aluminium foil and everything.
Yeah. What did you get put in your teeth?
Yeah.
A metal amalgam, and
mercury.
Yeah. I just lost my train of thought there. Yeah, aluminium, and it was the dawn of sort of television, which is mass radio transmission.
Absolutely.
Only small then.
Mass mind control.
But the amount of radiation, EMF, available in our atmosphere at that time, at whatever level it is now 1 million times stronger.
Yeah.
It's 1 million times more dense. So we've got EMF, which was just 4G, 5G. Aluminium. What do women get breast cancer? What's in underarm deodorant?
Exactly.
Aluminium. Asbestos was the best thing since sliced bread. Until 20 years later, people are dying of cystic fibrosis. So everything that they throw at us, that this is a boon to mankind, you can bet there's a backstory to.
Well, look at Teflon as well. And, you know, people might say a lot of these things, well, you didn't know. And hindsight is a wonderful thing. So certainly in some cases, possibly they didn't realise. But history has shown that in a lot of cases, they did realise and they covered it up.
Yeah, well, like tobacco.
Exactly.
Yeah, they denied any connection to cancer for 40 odd years.
And they knew.
But they already, within their own internal organizations, had done the test work and they knew that it did.
Exactly.
And that's just corruption.
Yeah.
That's just corruption. And it's the same with the pharmaceutical industry, because all of these these dead organizations, they want customers, they don't want cures. It's all about maintaining the flow of money to them.
Yeah.
They're not concerned about our well-being. And I spoke to a pharmacist the other day, just a local one. He's a lovely guy. He's about my age, so, you know, he's still got a sense of humor. And I said, what's it like being in the healthcare business? He said, I'm not in the healthcare business. I said, what do you mean? I said, I am in the disease management system. So he knows it, you know, he knows it. Yeah. Like, that's why I don't get, for me, DR or doctor just stands for drug retailer, because every time I went to the doctor with a symptom, they give me something to alleviate the symptom but not deal with the cause. They gave me a drug. They
Mm.
gave me a drug. And a lot of those drugs I found, especially Nexium for reflux, they ended up, um, I really had most of this esophagus got so inflamed that they thought I had a tumor there. And so I did some research on Nexium. And yeah, it's been strongly connected to esophageal cancers.
Yeah.
So why did my doctor have me on it for 8 years?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. And my heart goes out to my brothers and sisters in the United States, but I'm glad that I'm part of the 95% and not the 5%, because Americans only account for 5% of the world's population, but they consume about 90% of the world's pharmaceuticals.
Mm.
Most people over 50 there, and this is from their own data, taking multiple medications because they take one to deal with the primary problem they've
Yeah,
got, which causes a side effect. Well, it's not a side effect. It
exactly.
causes,
It's a known effect.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a known but unliked effect. And so they take another medication for that effect, and that medication gives another effect. So they get another medication, and why there is such an upswelling after I think Americans reach the age of 60 or 65, all of a sudden their medical insurance will pay for any of these medications they need. So it's evil, isn't it? When you think
It's
about it, it's
very,
evil.
very sad. I mean, look at what's happened over the last year. And, there's been no public health advice coming out about take your exercise, get outside, eat healthily, take these vitamins and supplements, meditate, hug a
Hydroxychloroquine,
yeah, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, uh,
MMS.
PDS, MMS that we're both great fans of, and I think the thing is now's the time. I think when you do, the more you tune in to your body, the more you listen to your body, the more, as you said earlier, it gives you messages back. And, we can selectively choose to listen to some of them and not listen to others, but it won't give up. The great thing is about our bodies is our bodies don't give up on us. And they'll, as you say, they'll keep coming back with more and more extreme messages. But I think the thing is, it's like, getting people to trust themselves more, because unfortunately gone are the days where most people can trust the doctor or the vet. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got some fantastic vets that I work with, and they really are, they genuinely have got the animal's interest at heart, but often they're caught in a system that makes that very, very difficult for them now to operate in. And I'm sure there are some very, very good doctors there that are caught in this very difficult system.
Well,
Um,
I'd rather go to a vet than a doctor.
yeah, because vets have to use their intuition a lot because they're not dealing with verbal communication a lot of the time. But I think
I'll
when you
just get Charlie. I can still hear you.
okay,
He's at the
yeah,
door.
you get Charlie in.
Charlie, Daddy, up. Hey, hang on. Daddy, get it. Wait. Oh. It's freezing out there, Dad. It's freezing.
Oh, bless his little cotton socks. Oh.
Oh.
How's he
Oh.
doing now on his own without his brother? Is he doing okay now?
Yeah, I think he's quite enjoying being in pole position because
Yeah,
he gets all the hugs now, and he gets all the trips and
yeah.
all the
Bless,
adventures. Yeah.
bless his little cotton socks. So I think this is where it comes back to your advice, doesn't it? Again, if asking, is this, how did you phrase it? You didn't say, is it kind to me? Is it nurturing to me? Was it?
Is it nurturing for me?
Yeah.
Because I'm very good at meeting my needs, and most people don't know what their needs are. And again, it's very simple. It's food, clothing, shelter, nature, nurture.
Yeah.
And those last two are so important. We need nature and we need nurture.
Yeah.
You need to nurture yourself in ways that make you feel good.
Exactly.
To get the melatonin happening, you know, and
Yeah.
all the feel good. Because within our bodies, we have, well, the liver can produce any chemicals the body wants, you know. We don't need external. You
Oh,
just got to give it the right food.
when they've done studies, I love Joe Dispenza's work, and when they've looked at studies about, you know, what a so-called placebo test, but what they actually realized is actually the body has produced the healing substance itself. So, you know, this is the wonder of how creative we are. And I think we're really waking up to, at the moment, to the potential of how much we can create, aren't we? Not just within our bodies, but within our lives as well.
Well, there's a brilliant example I came across the other day. People are going on about, oh, the plastics are destroying our oceans and there's micro plastic in every fish we eat. And then some guys somewhere, I can't remember where, have discovered a bacteria that has morphed through its own evolutionary process that is now eating plastic. It
Exactly.
is digesting plastic. And so it just goes back again.
Yeah,
Nature will find a way
exactly.
because nature will go on with us or without us.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful for us to realize. And, you know, nature will go on, and we can help it on its way, and we absolutely should help it, not hinder it. But equally, nature is so much more powerful than us.
Mm. If I had to choose a planet to live on, I'd go to Pandora and join the Na'vi from that movie Avatar.
Oh, you see, I've never seen the Avatar. I need
Oh,
to take a week off. I am the most boring person out because I never watch movies.
I never find you boring.
I'm honestly, it's hysterical. And everyone keeps telling me, I've got a really good friend, Susie, and she keeps saying, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And I'm like, no, no. So what I really need to do is take a week off and watch all these great movies that everyone's telling me, particularly now, because I'll be watching them with a fresh pair of eyes and I'll see different things in them. But it is quite funny. I hardly watch any movies at all.
Well, if my input has any merit, for me that movie Avatar just describes how easy it is for us to live in harmony with nature. It is
Yeah.
absolutely awesome.
Oh, wow. I'm
Absolutely
going to watch
awesome.
it.
Yeah, put it number one on your list.
I will put it number one on my list. I will put it number one on my
Good
list.
on you, darling.
Yeah,
Good on.
and I will do it. And when I can work out how to use the telly, or when one of my children's home so they can show me, then I'll watch it. But no,
I don't have a telly.
it is important. Yeah, no, it is. I don't know how to use mine. I never use it. But I've got a computer. I'm sitting on a computer, so I'm sure I can work it out. Well, as always, Bob, I love our relaxing conversations. I really, really do. I want you to keep us up to date on your book. And, you know, it's a really good inspiration in terms of, I like you. I'm on one of the other Facebook groups where you quite often put your lovely, inspiring little quotes, don't you, and life lessons. So
Brave New Life.
Brave New Life, is it? Yeah, it's good. It's nice, very uplifting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The Zoom
it
meetings
does
are
have
great.
advantages, doesn't it? Sorry, there's a bit of a delay, which is why we keep talking over each other. That little bit of delay still to make us realise that we are the other side of the world. Yeah,
Yeah.
lovely. So what have you got planned then? What's your plan for the today then?
Well, I don't have any plans for today. Um, I'm just waiting for my body to tell me um, I'm tired and I'm going to take you to bed. But it's after our invigorating conversation, which I always come away from with you, which is why I enjoy them so much. I've just, I've got so many little things, and every day I'll complete. I've got so many projects on the go, but every day I'll flip from one to the other, just moving each of them along a little bit, and I
Yeah,
can look back and see. But with my book, I've been stuck for over a year on content's no problem. I've got oodles of content. but it was, oh, how do I get to publish it? And
Yeah.
oh, how do you form? I was supposed to format the front, and it's all the headspace stuff
Yeah.
that I knew that I could work my way through, but I just really didn't want the burden of spending that much time in headspace. So I asked for help on the Brave New Life community and got some response and guidance. And yeah, it's like the block's gone. There is now a plan of action evolving naturally. And yeah, I get the feeling that, yeah, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen this year. And it's going to, yeah,
Fantastic.
it means I can move forward and get on to the next book.
Exactly. Same with me. So yeah, so I will do that. And that's a really nice lesson to finish on, I think, which is asking for help.
Yeah.
Because so as humans, we want to help. Well, animals want to help, nature wants to help, our angels want to help, our spirit guides, whatever you believe in. But actually asking for help, because how wonderful is it for us as individuals when someone asks us for help? It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I spent my life helping people, and I am really world famous for being fiercely independent. I go to the realization that yes, only I can do it, but I can't always do it on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for your time this morning.
It's always a pleasure.
I promise not to get the time wrong again next time. That's twice I've done that. But you were always up bright and early, so you sorted it out. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, let's chat again in about the month's time if you're up for it.
Yeah, and I had some quick good news.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my message out there to broader platforms. And I made a comment on Charlie Freak's YouTube, one of his podcasts, and he sent me a message back just saying, basically, good on you, Bob. Keep up doing God's work. We love you very much.
Great.
And so there is and also there's a facility for me to apply to do an interview with Charlie and just spread my message through that. So yeah, my opportunities for eradicating suicide, and I will, it is doable.
Yeah.
The opportunities are growing and growing, and that gives me a lovely warm feeling.
It really does. It really does. Thank you so much for all you do with that.
No worries.
All right. Lots of love. Speak soon. Bye.
Bye.